What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we'll be chatting with Cyrus Saatsaz from Locked On Warriors. The Golden State Warriors are headed to their sixth finals appearance in 8 years. How much of an edge do the veteran Golden State Warriors have over the finals first-timers in the Boston Celtics? But first, a quick message from our friends over at BetOnline, because our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all of your sports betting needs and info. Find the latest odds, news, sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, from live betting, the NBA playoffs, esports, and more. And speaking of the playoffs, right now you can head to BetOnline to see the odds-on favorite for Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Right now, the Golden State Warriors minus 166 favorites in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. So for all of that and more, check out their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action available to you. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Joining us now is Cyrus Saatsaz from Locked On Warriors. You can follow on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow. Cyrus, Golden State Warriors are finals bound for the sixth time in 8 seasons, and meeting them in the Bay for Game 1 of the NBA Finals this Thursday will be none other than the Boston Celtics. Cyrus, this is the league's number one defense meeting up with the league's number 2 defense in the finals. So many interesting angles, matchups here. You got Defensive Player of the Year Marcus Smart checking Steph Curry. You got the battle on the wings between Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, all the big men that are going to be, fighting down low in this series. First impression, which matchup or pair of matchups are the most important in this series, and why?
I mean, I think that the most important focus is going to be Stephen Curry. There's going to be a lot of talk about him because that one missing piece of his resume to ascend him to all-time greatness is that Finals MVP, even though I think that's overrated, but most people don't. And Steph cares about that too. I mean, he does. He'll never admit it, but he does. So how Steph plays.
Also, wait, we should say, right, recently crowned Western Conference Finals MVP Steph Curry. So he's got like sort of a Finals MVP on his record book now.
He's getting there. Yeah, I know Andre Iguodala actually, they caught him on mic saying, are you happy now? Like after he got his trophy. So it's going to be interesting how they match up. There's also, they won't admit this either. The Warriors are usually very media savvy in terms of not giving fuel to opponents and not, letting out their own personal strategies or feelings. But there's clearly lingering animosity in terms of Marcus Smart's dive at Stephen Curry's foot. It took him out for a month. I don't think anyone's saying it was intentional. Marcus Smart is just a very aggressive player, but I think reckless would be more apropos in terms of the verb or adjective of describing. I guess it would be a verb, right? Sorry, it's late for me, and I'm on day 6 of company video here. I apologize, but yeah, whatever it is, it's lingering. Like the Warriors were not happy about that. Steve Kerr was particularly incensed when that happened. It is his golden boy, Stephen Curry, and he's going to protect him at all costs. But that's there. That's not something the team has forgotten. And how they defend Stephen Curry will be interesting. I think Stephen Curry and how he handles the Celtics defense will be interesting. I literally just did a live show on Locked On Warriors, just kind of like an emergency pod to dissect the Celtics, and Dub Nation is nervous. This is the most nervous they've been this postseason. I still maintain the Grizzlies were a more difficult team. And then the Celtics are behind. I think the Celtics are a formidable opponent for sure. But when you look at the Celtics, you talk about those wings, right? You talk about Jason Tatum, you talk about Jaylen Brown being their primary offensive weapons. What to me, when I see the Celtics, I see them as a team that just doesn't have the firepower to keep up with the Golden State Warriors. So like when you look at the 2 rosters, 1 through 10, 1 through 11, like Game 7, for example, tonight, the Boston Celtics, they played 7 guys total in that game. And when you look at the NBA Finals essentially are Game 7 after Game 7 after Game 7. The priority's there. Every possession counts more so than ever. And outside of Tatum and Brown has been inconsistent at times in the postseason. They just don't have a lot of weapons. And I just don't know if when you're going shot for shot, if the Celtics can keep up with the Warriors offense, given they've never seen anything like this until now in the playoffs. I mean, the Nets might be kind of close, but the Nets were a 2-headed monster with Durant and the Flat Earther. Sorry, Kyrie. And but that was it. So all they had to do was single on those two. Now you're facing a Warriors team that could have at any point a Stephen Curry, a Klay Thompson, a Jordan Poole. Andrew Wiggins was shockingly, at least until game 5, their best 3-point shooter in the Maverick series. Otto Porter Jr. can hit threes. Bielitsa, who when he plays the Warriors thrive, can shoot threes. Draymond Green, shockingly, is a decent 3-point shooter. He actually has more career postseason threes than Dirk Nowitzki, which is a really wild stat I did not realize until recently. So the Warriors' offensive weapons it's just so long in terms of what that list is. And then you talk about the Celtics defense. It is stout. They're the number 1 rated defense this season. The Warriors are number 2, but the Warriors were number 1 until Draymond Green was injured in January. And this is where there's a lot of recency bias. I feel like people are really have slept on the Warriors, and I'm guessing when the national media starts making their projections, they're going to continue sleeping on them. I'm already seeing some people's individuals' Twitter accounts saying they think the Celtics will win this series. But the Celtics are going to be facing not only the toughest D they faced this postseason, but hands down the best offense they faced. And I just don't see how they're going to pull this off ultimately. Sorry for the incredibly long answer to what was a short question.
No, you're good, man. And so speaking of, right, I mean, as far as the odds are going, our friends over at BetOnline have the Warriors right now at minus 150 favorites. So that's at least a point in your favor there, Cyrus. But you talk about all these Warriors weapons, right? You know, the 3-headed monster that they have now, maybe a 4-headed monster, depending on if Andrew Wiggins can keep up his offensive production in Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, and Wiggs. But going into the series, how much of a concern is Klay Thompson's efficiency? This is something that if you look at the averages, right, the averages look pretty good. They look pretty solid, but then it's kind of this like pendulum swinging from like, he'll have these insanely like these flamethrower-esque games to these games where the shooting efficiency is, you know, a bit perplexing for a guy who's supposed to be this knockdown shooter. How concerning is that where that could really swing a game or two here in the finals?
Well, shooting percentages always go down in the postseason just because games are tight, fatigue starts to come into play. It is lower than his career averages. There's no doubt about that. In my humble opinion, I'm not overly worried about it just because he makes them when they count, right? I mean, he had these 2 huge games in terms of closeout games. We saw game 6 Klay again against the Grizzlies. He put up a 30 burger there. And then in game 5 against the Mavericks to close them out, he dropped 32. So he hits them when they count. And he's typically played great in the NBA finals. That's for some reason, the dude loves pressure. Like the bigger the limelight, the more he thrives. And the why of that is a whole other discussion. But Klay Thompson, though, as important as he's going to be offensively, his defense is what's going to really be vital. And he's struggled at times defensively in terms of his comeback from the injuries. He has not been able to stay in front routinely of smaller, quicker guards. But the Celtics don't really have that to bother Klay with. Like Jason Tatum is not a super fast player. I mean, he's tall, he's a lethal shooter, but Jaylen Brown, Tatum, Marcus Smart, these aren't guys that are going to be blowing by Klay Thompson. And Klay's D in all those 5 straight NBA Finals runs, as important as his shot was, it was his defense that really saved the day because it took a lot of pressure off Steph and let him focus on his offense. So if Klay's defense is there, I'm not super worried because it starts with Steph. And as long as Steph is making shots when they count, I think they're going to be okay. But it is a concern. I mean, there's no doubt. His numbers are below what they normally are. But at the same time, the counter argument to that is when it counts, he's come through. He's still scoring at a decent clip. I think his scoring average in the postseason is like right around 20 a game, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere close to that. I don't have that in front of me right now, but yeah. So, but it's a valid concern, and my only response to that is if he plays defense like we saw previously, I think we'll be okay. And he's averaging 19.8 points per game in the playoffs, so I'm not overly concerned. He's still shooting 40% from 3, which is fantastic. He's still shooting 46% from the field, which is an incredibly solid number. So it's just he's down slightly by his own standards, but I think he's gonna be okay.
All right, Cyrus, last thing here for you. This is the important question.
Yeah.
Series prediction. What's your call?
All right. And God, man, I sound so cocky because I've been on like all these shows now. And here's the thing. Here's why I sound cocky is because I got the first round right, Warriors in 5. I got the second round right, Warriors in 6. I got the third round right, Warriors in 5. But this one's tough. This one's really tough So here's what I told my audience, and I'll tell you this. If my heart says Warriors in 7, just because I'm nervous now because they're this close to winning a fourth title in 8 years, and I'm all about legacy. I'm all about dynasties and greatness. It's not even just the Warriors. Like, I just love all-time great teams, man. Even the Yankees, one of the most hated organizations in sports history. Like, I love dynasties, man. The Dallas Cowboys, who took out my Niners, still love them. They're a dynasty. I respect that. I respect how much the work ethic, the sweat, the blood, the tears that comes with to accomplish a dynasty. So the Warriors are like really in this really unique position. And so my heart is like nervous for them. And I'm saying Warriors in 7. I don't think the Warriors will lose a home game in this series. My brain says 5. And after I did my live show, here's what I'm convinced of. If the Warriors are healthy, if Gary Payne II plays, if Otto Porter Jr. plays, and if Andre Iguodala plays, there are reports he might come back. Warriors in 5. If the Warriors are dealing with injury situations and they're missing players here and there, then I'll say Warriors in 7. Hope that's a good answer for you, because that's actually 2 answers, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, hey, we're straddling the fence here, and I appreciate it. I love it. You're playing both sides, so you come out on top. No, I appreciate it, Cyrus.
I'll say 5. I'll go with 5. Just
there we go. All right,
that's
go ahead.
What do you think? I want your prediction.
I actually don't have a prediction yet. I haven't sat down to really come to a concrete decision on who I like in this finals. I think though it's going to be a damn good final series. That is for absolute certain, between the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors. Will it be Warriors in 5, or will we get another faded Game 7 in the NBA Finals? Will the Warriors add another trophy to their already stocked trophy case? You're going to have us covered for all of that and more, of course, over at Locked On Warriors. Cyrus, I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Thank you.